Michelle Giuda, CEO of the Krach Institute for Tech Diplomacy at Purdue and also a former Assistant Secretary of State for Global Public Affairs under the first Trump administration, writes the US won't be able to win the AI race simply by limiting China's technology, and joins us now. And frankly, that's where the debate is. You know, you will have seen the headlines this morning and the open letter essentially on open weight. The timing of that, there must be a reason for it.
Well, what I think you're actually seeing, Ed, is a really good example of Silicon Valley and Washington, D.C. talking past each other. Because if you look at that letter, the real debate isn't about open weight models. It's about Chinese open weight models, which unfortunately are the most available, most price-effective option that's on the table right now, and especially for a lot of new businesses and startups that are trying to build their AI stacks. And so the real debate is on Chinese open weight models. And the problem there is we know that presents national security risk. We know it presents corporate risk, given all that we know about Chinese technology being untrustworthy. It's why we've banned Huawei. It's why we banned and then had to restructure TikTok. It's why there's legislation moving through the House right now about banning connected vehicles that are coming from China. And so there's a pattern here. And I think the focus on what do we ban versus what do we keep open is actually misplaced focus by both the private sector and the U.S. government. The focus should be on how do we turbocharge America's open weight ecosystem so we have a world-class, robust, really price-effective offering for the rest of the world so we can diffuse American AI as fast as possible. And not only overseas, but here at home, where businesses are trying to grow.
On the here at home bit, you know, I've read the open letter as many times as I could before we came to air. And I'm thinking, what is the concern? What catalyzed them writing it and putting it out? One take is the concern that Washington just over-regulates open source models, right, in a way that is detrimental to American interests. Where do you sort of sit on that debate?
Yeah, well, I think it's because open weight models, cheaper open weight models, have become really core to a lot of how businesses are developing their AI stacks. As you mentioned earlier, we just saw a big tech wipeout, $890 billion, because AI is really expensive. Everybody's looking to see if we can keep up with this spending bubble. And so the cheaper, good enough versions are really important for a private sector to be building their AI stacks. The problem is it comes from an adversary. And there is no really robust U.S. trusted alternative to the Chinese open weight models that we're seeing. And then the Kimi 3 launch this week catalyzed our awareness of that. And so the debate now is not really just open weight, it's Chinese open weight, and can we get an American alternative out there fast?
So NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang did a sort of an extended interview with Axios and basically said, you know, the top lines are that the Chinese models are excellent, and that the open source models that are excellent too should be used. And so, you know, based on your line of argument that the risk is too great if the open model comes from an economic adversary, it comes down to how influential is Jensen Huang with this administration?
Well, I actually think it comes down to how fast can we turbocharge an American open weight ecosystem. Look, all the things that he's saying and other Silicon Valley leaders are saying make sense if you're looking at this purely through an innovation and a commercial lens. It makes a world of sense. If you then factor in the communist adversary lens, the risk calculus looks a whole lot different, and that's why these technologies are different. Look, we just spent, Ed, the better part of a decade with businesses thinking about how they decouple and they de-risk from China because of the supply chain risk, the financial risk, the corporate risk, the national security risk. And now we're talking about entrenching Chinese technology into the very foundation of our American companies' AI stacks. Like, that makes no sense. And so how do we focus instead on getting trusted American AI, cheap, effective, price-effective AI into the hands of American companies and as much of the world as possible? That's where the focus needs to go.
Let's go back to the beginning. You know, your argument through the lens of policy research, reflecting on your time in government, is that at the end of the day, America won't win the AI race by restricting China. So you indicate that America needs to be proactive in its own approach, get its own house in order. How far does today's action go? What else needs to be done?
Yeah, I think, look, the president has this great group on his PCAST, this presidential advisory board with a bunch of technology leaders. I think they should get in a room as quickly as possible and figure out how they go on offense really quickly with American open weight AI. And by the way, get all of our allies on board, because even if we ban and limit the use of Chinese technology, Chinese AI models here, if we're using AI models from America here, but the rest of the world is running on a Chinese AI stack, that's still a problem for us. And so I think they can rally around that. And look, we have a lot of lessons. When I was at the State Department, Huawei was a threat across the world. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. And a big lesson is that we're not going to win on principle, we're going to win on price. So how do we get much more cost-effective, trusted American AI open weight models out into the world now?